President Sachinarayana Garu, Vice Chancellor Srihari Rao Garu, Pro Chancellor LSS Reddy Garu, my dear friends, a very good evening to all of you. I apologize that we are starting fairly late this evening. It's past 8 o'clock. So where am I at this point of time? I'm standing between you and your dinner. So if you listen to me, I'll let you go as quickly as I can. If you don't listen to me also, I'll let you go because I'm tired. I might fall apart fairly quickly. In the interest of honesty and transparency, I should share with you that I'm a little tired today. That doesn't absolve me in engaging all of you. But it's interesting that I wanted to tell you this first story about that I just came back from South America last Thursday. And after being in a place called Machu Picchu. So how many of you have heard about this place called Machu Picchu? Wonderful. Can somebody stand up and tell me what they know about Machu Picchu? Now something which I'm sure all of you as engineers must be very proud about what Machu Picchu was. Can somebody prompt me then? One of 7 wonders. But what was so wonderful about it?
It's ancient buildings, sir.
Ancient buildings. Good. But more interestingly, if you go back and Google and Machu Picchu and study the site, you'll find in 11th century, between 11th century and 13th century, it was not so well documented. It was the Inca kings who built a marvelous engineering feat in terms of their own palace. In the 13th century, they had an urban area and an agricultural area. And you go about 400 feet above the Machu Picchu ruins, as they're called, you would then start enjoying how marvelous they were as engineers. Steel was not still invented. Iron was not there. But still, you should see the bondage between stone and stone. So how did they break stone to become such good finish? Using a different kind of stone which was harder than the stone with which they built the palaces. And they did not have T-square, they did not have set squares, they did not know geometry. But still, they're perfect in terms of the geometry that they had. Their windows you can see through from one location 11 different homes or 11 different areas. So therefore, pardon me, I took you out there because I just wanted you to connect with the 13th century civilization. Engineering was strong in this country. In this world, sorry. So I'm spaced out, pardon me on that. It is in, it's actually Machu Picchu is in Peru. That's the country where it is. So therefore, today's engineers can be equally good, if not more brilliant, than the 13th century engineering feats that they did. How did they achieve it? Fairly simple. Common sense and apply yourself. So if you apply yourself, then you can do marvels of the world. As my young friend said, it's the 7th world wonder. That's what it was voted in 2011, I guess. That's what it was. So it's not more about what I saw, but more importantly, I want to share with you that engineering is persisting in this world for a number of centuries. Having said that, pardon me, I need a glass of water. So what I also intend to do is, it's about 8:10 right now. I'll probably spend about no more than 20-25 minutes to make a few remarks. Don't get overly worried. I have lots of papers in my hand. But I'm also equally keen to finish off early because, as I was describing to a friend of mine this evening, I suffer from what is called as the sleep deficiency syndrome. I need to catch up with some sleep, and my good friend was telling me Mohan, can we do one thing? I said, what is this about? I will try to do a little more sleeping so that you get the credits from my side. I said, that doesn't work so easily. But more importantly, I like to call all my young friends here as very lucky people. Extremely lucky people. Why? Can somebody answer my question? I consider my young friends, yeah, we are also lucky people. We are in this generation, we live in this world. But you are more lucky than us. Why? Sorry? Hearing to me? Thank you, I'm humble, but can we have a better answer? Sorry? Yes, great infrastructure provided by KL University. Let's give them a round of applause for Satyanarayana and others. Absolutely. What else? You're lucky because you're born to your parents. They took care of you so well. You have some wonderful teachers here. You're lucky. But more importantly, or equally importantly, you're born in an age which I call it as the internet age. If you look back at people like me, the way in which we behaved, the way in which we transacted business, the way in which we communicated 20 years back was completely different from what it is today. And what brought about the change? A simple thing called internet. I have a belief, and I keep sharing this fairly often, that if you look at the civilizations of the past, if you look at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, you look at even the Western civilization out of Britain, Great Britain, they're all around river water systems. You had a river. You look at city of Paris, you look at even in Greece, Barcelona, Madrid, all of them have a huge river flowing through. And look at even India for that matter. So the civilizations of the past came around river water systems. But my belief is civilizations of future will come all around bandwidth. Seriously, because that is what will make the difference. To the extent there are a number of countries, including, we're involved in a project up in Australia, NBN Co as it's called. NBN Co is National Broadband Company, it's basically government owned. They're saying every home, I repeat, every home will get 100 megabits of bandwidth. That's where you will see science, technology, civilization flourish. And certainly you will see a new age coming by. While I say that you are lucky, there is no guarantee that the next generation will be more lucky than what we are, because there could be so much of change that would happen. You look at my generation, or some of the people in my generation. I actually have to also acknowledge that several of your faculty members, your chancellor, your vice chancellor, are all from the same university and have been friends to me a number of years back. We might not have got connected for a while. So we belong to that generation, and what we have seen is typically I waited for a while before the mail came. Postman was a very important part of my life. Thereafter, telephone. I dialed and dialed. Actually, this was a joke that I have to share with you guys. Can you see my two fingers? Right? And then see one more time. Now you'll see, first time they're the same size, and the second time you see one is shorter than the other. And I keep saying the reason why it became shorter than the other is that I dialed and dialed my telephone without getting connected. That's the worst thing. So that's how the life was. And now tell me how long it takes on this wonderful small little device to get connected. I just need to say PROF, and I saw Professor Lakshman's name coming up. Before I pushed one more time, I did touch the phone and I got connected with him. So therefore, the way in which I transacted was waiting for the postman, waiting for the trunk call operator to connect me overseas, and waiting for actually the lineman to come and repair my phone. Here is another true story I keep sharing with people. So I used to have phones. Luckily for me, even 60 years back, there was a phone in my home, and the phone never used to work. So therefore, you go to neighbor's house to make a complaint saying that my phone does not work. And what was the first question being asked? Is where are you calling from? So my question, logically I used to think, why is he bothered about where am I calling from? So I'm trying to say, look, my phone doesn't work. So all right, he used to take the all the details, about your family history, your date of birth, you name it, because he had no other work, I guess. But then after that, I had only one question to ask him: when will the lineman come to repair my phone? That he would say, I never know about that. My job is only to make sure that I take the complaint. And he used to caution me one more thing. Sir, very logically I used to ask this question saying that, tell me my complaint number. He used to say, I'll give you the number, but doesn't matter at all. Because every evening, whatever is finished, the rest of it we tear them and throw off. So if your phone doesn't work, come back next morning. But more serious note is that today actually the privatization that has happened in this in the telephone industry, leaving apart the scams of 2G or 3G or NG, whatever it is, have definitely helped us in terms of having connectivity much better. So therefore, look back at how the history has transformed. The way the modes of communication have changed considerably. Today we don't travel as much as we used to travel. Not that it has come down anyway, but certainly the snail mail has gone by, the email has come in. Today it's not even email, you do a lot amount of texting, voice over IP, and then what's the latest? WhatsApp. So tell me, how many of you use WhatsApp? I thought all hands should go up. Thank you. So therefore, that's the transformation that has happened. And then you also see that several online applications that have come by. Where I am in my life at this point of time, I still continue to work hard, but typically I go home by about 8 o'clock in the evening, have a small little meal with my wife, and both of us tend to watch some soap opera, some TV show. But then, simultaneously, we also have a conversation on the side on something of interest to us, including, we did a lot of research about Machu Picchu or Iguazu Falls before we went and saw them, or the Sugarloaf Mountain and the Christ Redeemer. But then how do you get so much of knowledge so quickly? Is that you're Googling on the other side. So therefore, your learning has become so fast and so rapid and so sharp at this point of time compared to what it was in the past. So good reason, I can call you people very lucky people. You're born in a generation when you have this big revolution of internet happening all around you. Certainly I'd like you to spend a little more time in terms of learning more. There are sites I'm sure your professors have talked about, whether it is Coursera, Udacity, and of course my favorite site is called Khan Academy. How many of you know khanacademy.com? Good. Go and learn. It's free of cost. Great stuff that's there. So what am I trying to get down to at this point of time is to say that you're lucky people. Things have changed. Learning could become very easy for you. It wasn't easy any longer. It wasn't easy as what it is for people like you, for people who lived in my generation. You went to a library, you asked for a book, then they said, reserve a book. I went to one of the best institutes in this country even today, IIT Kanpur. I graduated from IIT Kanpur. The young man introduced me that way. And even in IIT Kanpur, you used to wait for books. When will the book come back? 2 weeks from you, now sir. So you become friendly with the librarian. Of course, the book used to come a little earlier to me. So therefore, that waiting time is not there any longer. What happens now is through search, research, and more importantly, learning, you get tremendous amount of knowledge. So you not only live in an internet world, but you also live in a knowledge society. A knowledge society which makes you much richer than many others around you. So what is the barrier between you and learning, therefore? To me, there's only one simple thing. What's that? Attitude. I'm not asking any of you to go and climb Mount Everest tomorrow. I'm not asking you guys to go and compete with Michael Johnson to go and run a 100-meter sprint. My only submission to you is change your attitude to learn. And that's just here, one click. In class 7, my marks were so poor, my mother called me and told me that I had a choice to make. Either I get good marks, get to class 8, or I go back to my village, to my grandfather, and do farming. And more importantly, she said something more interesting, and I want to share this with my young lady friends here. I have a sister who is elder to me by a year. She said, when a girl comes first in class, why not you? It really changed my attitude. It really changed my attitude to say, why not me? It didn't happen overnight. But I'm sure several of my classmates around here, I graduated from Kakinada Engineering College as the first rank holder in mechanical engineering. How does that happen? Thank you. How does that happen? It's a simple thing called attitude, which says, I have to be the best. That's the value that I teach with all my, we don't use this word called employees, we call them associates in the company to today. A value which says, you've got to be the best. And we've seen it creates tremendous amount of change in the organization, a transformation in the organization. And for the benefit of the individual, and also for the benefit for the organization as such. It's a two-way process that leads into it. So therefore, certainly you live in a world which is knowledge-driven society. What will make you perfect is your attitude. You also live in a world which has got challenges. Because unlike us, look, what was competition for an ambassador car and Fiat car? Dr. Reddy and I were talking about the good cars that have come on the road now. But look at our era, when we all bought cars in the first time in our lives. There were two options, a Fiat and an ambassador. If you went more than 60 kilometers